Why you must pray? Why must a lion pray? Why must the wild dogs pray? And why must you pray? You say you must pray because you have to talk or communicate with God. Do you have to pray to communicate with me? I communicate with you by talking to you. Why can't you communicate with God by talking to God? Why must it have to do with a pray and surrender coming from you who are bent on belief in sacrifice and blood? Bloodshed is not a pretty thing. I know you lie to me because praying and talking are two different things. The only thing that makes a pray is that it must acknowledge subjection to a predator. It is about agreement with sacrifice. Bloodshed is not a pretty thing. The determination to surrender to anyone, including God, is the agreement with death or to be sacrificed to this predator. You lay face down or you go sit in execution style and ask the God to cover you with blood. You lie to me by making a ritual seem like something else. Bloodshed is not a pretty thing. I am telling you the truth. You are so afraid to listen because you do not want to blaspheme your God. Are you truly afraid to blaspheme a God when he always pleads for blood and accept or require blood sacrifices in physical or spiritual form, and when the proof is in his very book? You are afraid to give up a demonic God for the Most High God Creator who deals in goodness, truth, and beauty, which are the three values of love, and which he placed inside your heart, not in a book, but you vehemently deny it for sacrifice. You can talk to God. You need not pray. Why believe you have to pray to speak? It is foolish. Do you go to an altar to speak to your father and mother who are flesh upon the earth? Do you kneel to your mother to beg her at dinner time? I tell you the truth. I bring something pure to you. I plant it and water it. How long will you salt the soil? How long will a seed from God take to grow? How long shall you be choosing evil over good, watching the world burn in hell and lamenting the fire, claiming, oh, an act of God? Yes, it is always an act of God. You will have to be burned, to be roasted by your predator, the Emmanuel monster. People, it is Skywalker here again. Here is the ray of light from my wonderful crystal. Before we shine some more, please help the cause. Like, share, and subscribe. Don't hide it under the bushel. You must pray because you must sacrifice the lamb, and only predators slaughter, kill, and eat. Predators prey upon their victims, and for you praying, the favor returns to you that now you must also be the prey. You must pray because you must bow and surrender and offer your subjection and worship to your master who is your God by virtue of you sacrificing your soul and your all, owning nothing but being happy in him. You own nothing but you are happy in him. And every day you surrender more, have less, and then you say you are happy in him. You make real that fake happiness. He will, in this agreement, always be the predator and never the prey. For this is how the contract is worded. Firstly, you are in agreement that you are the sheep sacrificing the lamb that is your child. The God did not agree to sacrifice himself or to sacrifice his own son. He agreed to sacrifice your son, the Son of Man. Your son was chosen by him and accorded the superficial value as a son to him in flesh. So always the slaughter, the surrender, and the sacrificing will ever be your karma and your doing. You agree to sacrifice the lamb. You agree to sacrifice the Son of Man, and then you pretend as if the Son of Emmanuel or Emmanuel himself did come to sacrifice for you. You see the contradiction every time you speak the tale, but you never see the contradiction because you determine to choose ignorance. You choose ignorance because you will not labor hard to store the treasures in the spiritual realm. But it will not be so easy for those that shall repeat this class. Why will you repeat this class? Because of a contract that is evil and fake. Everything in a mundane realm revolves around the subject and the predator. The Muslim wins the tussle. He drags his balls around, they say. If you challenge him, then he sees you as the resistance to put down. If you surrender to him, then he sees you as the subject and will have no cause to place you on your knees or place his knees upon your neck. But why are you afraid of his muscles when the fight was always spiritual? Because you are focused on a mundane plane, ignorant of the fact that you came with power over him. This is why you surrender. You came knowing your power, and then in your foolish believing mindset, you embrace an illusion that you define as fear. Fear makes you surrender, but fear is no evidence of anything. It is superficial. The spirit is tested on a mundane plane. Your muscles are tested when you work out with weights, but it is a means to an end. Your spirit does its workout in this material dimension. What you will is subject to the will of no other but you. You are in forgetfulness, but you have all the power to come from this darkness. And when you find your way, you come face to face with your eternal being and you find peace. Then you stay in a bubble, insulated from the tragedies of material life. When the vessel is rocking and you say, "Peace, be still," it only stops the turbulence to you, so others must come up on their own. The police catches a deadly criminal and he does not want to be threatened, so he cuffs him to prevent possible retaliation. A man comes to rob you and he fears your self-defense, so he says, "Put your hands up." Or the police tells him to go on the ground. He puts him face down with his hand outstretched in surrender mode. This is always the story about a predator and prey, and that one wills to be the dictator over the other, so to attain the height at the top of a superficial food chain. So the leader of a tribe goes to face the king that invaded and subjected his people. He must go in subject mode on his knees, praying to the dictator, or else he will be painfully subdued. The members of the churches from that farm under the mindset cultivation of Emmanuel have their free will, but only until the contract is signed, that he, without being attacked by his own free will, shall surrender his own vessel as the lamb to the slaughter, as a son of man who will sacrifice himself, symbolized in the act of his submissiveness and verbalized by the words that he gives his soul. He gives his all to the God that he worships, now agrees upon the contract that his soul, his will, his body, and his being no longer belongs to him. By your soul, your body, and your being are free will no longer belong to you. By your soul, your body, and your being are free will no longer belonging to you. You do not even have claim to your children. Or let me say it another way. Because your soul, your body, and your being are free will no longer belongs to you. You do not have claim to your children, for they no longer belong to you. You are a slave. So even if the preacher who serves their Lord rapes your wife, remember that your wife belongs to the system but not to you. A slave master claims he always owns the woman and cannot, for that reality, legally rape her. Then you give your child by a contract agreeing that you cannot legally protect him. Because of this, the contract that you signed, in so many ways, you bring that newborn to be christened to the God that owns the soul at birth. The child is treated as delivered cargo. As a ship comes to berth, the product is delivered, the bill of lading is produced, the engagements are duly met, and now the value of the stock of the master improves, but the parent legally owns nothing. Then the contract, the perpetual contract, will continue by that perpetual spell. Like, share, and subscribe. Peace out.